Alright, so if you're interested in my season in like Galvantula for like season 4 Go Battle League for Great League, check out my link the video below. I made a video on that as well for an analysis. This one's going to focus specifically on Halloween Cup because both of the like open Great League versus a condensed meta like Halloween Cup, there are two differences, but Galvantula is really good for both. It's really good for Go Battle League. It's also really good for Halloween Cup. So Galvantula, like you're gonna see a lot of like the same reviews, but I'm going to show you, like, if you watched my first video already, this is gonna give you a like deeper perspective on specifically on the Halloween Cup versus Go Battle League, because there's a huge difference between a condensed meta where you limit certain types versus an open meta like Go Battle League where everything is allowed. In terms of the Halloween Cup, Galvantula is stupid strong. The reason being is because there's not a lot of fire or rock types. You'll probably see Alolan Marowak, but that's usually like the only thing that you might see that like can really is opposing poor Spooter here. But if you look over here, you resist grass, steel, electricity. Yes, you have few resistances, but grass is like there's a lot of viable grass typings in the Halloween Cup. For example, things like Venusaur. You got Venusaur. What else is there? Shiftry is also a viable pick. Fighting, you resist fighting. There are you have possible counter fighter users like Scrafty. Scrafty's one of them, and Galvantula is, if you see Galvantula, yes, it's a glass cannon, but it's a bug electric type. Now, what is Bug strong against? Bug is strong against dark. It's like strong against psychic types. It's very, very good for the Halloween Cup, specifically because it does beat many dark types because of its typing. So that means things like Umbreon, even though you're a tanky boy, Umbreon's going to lose against Galvantula. Now, Galvantula, other than that, like its accessibility, it's not that easy to get if you don't have one built already. If you have one built already, obviously all you have to do is team it, but like if you don't have one, then I think someone mentioned to me that there's like a 3% hatch rate for like eggs right now. I'm not sure which pool, but Galvantula is available. But if you're going to find one now and like emergency use it, it's going to take some rare candy. Because if you look below here, Galvantula takes 50 candy to do. That's not cheap, along with 50,000 dust. So overall, Galvantula is not a cheap mon to build. If you want to use it for a Halloween Cup or for Go Battle League right now, you likely already have one, or you can literally build one right now if you wanted to. But yes, you'll see in the Matrix, Galvantula is very, very powerful for the Halloween Cup. Alright, so here we have the rankings for Galvantula. As you see, Lunge jumped it up a lot because, like I said, with the whole like bug beat start thing, Galvantula has a ton of coverage for the Halloween Cup. If we analyze it, you beat Azu, you beat Umbreon, you beat Venusaur, Beedrill, Golbat. These are all viable picks. You lose against Rubberdan Trash, Mawile, Shadow with Firefang. You lose against Alolan Muck. And Alolan Marowak, of course, like we mentioned, you're weak to fire. And you lose against Haunter. That's just because Haunter is also a glass cannon, but it also outpaces it. It does a lot of damage. But Galvantula, as you see, overall is insanely strong. Having a 100 rating is not easy unless it's like consistency, because like there's a lot of picks that are really consistent as long as you build a good team and you're a good player. But it's very hard to find one that's good in the lead in like two categories. For example, in the lead and a switch, Galvantula is literally close to 100. Second only to, of course, Azumarill. So Galvantula is very strong, like I mentioned. It's best used as a switch. In the lead, you still win a lot of matchups. But as a switch, Galvantula owns a lot of things that can possibly switch into. For example, Azumarill, Umbreon, Venusaur, Golbat, Beedrill. Now, be kind of careful because there are some mons that I can see, like, for example, you can probably see, like, even though it doesn't rank high, Alolan Marowak is still ranked 13, so it's still ranked very high as a switch. But at the same time, you might not see it switched into you because Azu is very popular. Azu, the thing that makes Galvantula so strong is that it's super oppressive against Azumarill. You beat Azumarill hard, you beat Umbreon hard. You beat two of the biggest tanks arguably in Halloween Cup really hard. And with Lunge, you have a lot of play because you can debuff your opponent. You can bait with Lunge or you can use it to destroy your opponent. if you look at the Umbreon matchup, you literally can just win straight lunging him to death. See? You literally just straight lunge it to death. And if it does land, you do a third of it. You do practically a third or more of Umbreon's health. So like I mentioned, Galvantula, very, very strong, best positioned as a switch, but overall Galvantula is a monster. Now let's take a look at the Matrix. I always set the Matrix ahead of time. Like, if you watch any of my other videos, what I do is I always use the 2-shield. I'll always do the I always go through each shield scenario, and we also do a Matrix. Now, the Matrix, your IVs might be different, so input your Matrix IVs right here. You can do it right here, input advanced stats, and then you can input your IVs here. And then you can see what flips. Generally, if it's like rank 300 or whatever, like I mentioned this before in like my team videos, it's good or not. But you want as high of a rank as you can. And now we're gonna get to it. So this is the Halloween Cup header right here. We're gonna analyze the 2s. And for Halloween Cup, Galvantula beats, of course, both versions of Azumarill. Like I mentioned before, it's incredibly powerful. It's incredibly powerful overall. But in the lead, it roasts Azumarill to death. You lose against Beedrill. You beat Driplim, Excavalier, Fortress. You lose against Frostless. You beat fellow Galvantulas. So, wait, why do you beat the... This might be CMP dependent. So if you take a look at if you look at the mirror, I think it's whoever wins CMP first is what will lose. Cause yeah, so it's if you get the mirror, really what matters is who gets it first, because lunge will lower your attack. So if you see here, as the lunge goes through, you'll see that the damage, yeah, it's basically who wins CMP in the mirror. That's why you'll beat Galvantula. So you only win the mirror if you win. So you might want an attack weight one just to win CMP if you see a lot of Galvantula leads. You beat Golbat in the 2s. You also beat Haunters in the 2-shield as well. So if you get a Haunter lead, you'll beat Haunter as well. And I believe you just go straight lunge. You can literally just go straight lunge. Straight lunge is the play. Yep. And even if you don't, if it goes through, one lunge does a ton of damage. Well, let's just, yeah, one lunge will do a ton of damage still, so. Yeah. Well, yeah, it does about a little under a third of Haunter's health just because it's so glassy. But it's very powerful, very strong. So, you beat Alola Marowak. Of course you're going to lose against... I mean, no, you don't beat Alola Marowak. Of course you're going to lose against Alola Marowak. You're going to lose against Shadow Ball only because it's a Fire Fang and Fire Spin. So fire... Bugs don't like fire. So get them out of there. But you beat Alola, you beat Obstagoon, you beat Muck, you beat Quillfish, you beat Shiftry. You just go straight, yeah. You just lunge it to death. As you see, the Bug Buzz version, does not flip a lot. I put the second one right here. I'm comparing it to Bug Buzz. Because Bug Buzz is really strong. However, if you're going to kill something, you don't really need to lower its defense that hard. Usually that strat is only used for Grass Soul / Acid Spray, but we don't talk about that on my videos because I hate Razor Leafers. Anyways, as you see, what I'm trying to basically say here, look at how many matchups that Lunge flips versus Bug Buzz. There's no universe where Bug Buzz is much better than Lunge in the Halloween Cup. Well, if they buffed Bug Buzz to something super strong, but other than that, Lunge is really strong. As you see here, you flip a ton of matchups. You even beat Wormadam Trash in the lead. So even though it says overall on the overall spectrum, you will lose against Wormadam Trash if you get that's in the 1-shield. So this is assuming, like I said, Galvantula, just like in Go Battle League, is an incredibly powerful lead. So is it in Halloween Cup. Now as a switch, we get what you saw in the usual sims. You beat Bowders and Azumarill. You actually beat Beedrill this time. I believe you do discharge it. You'll bait the shield with Lunge, and then you'll discharge it. You will electrify to Oblivion, and an electrocution is, well, not really electrocution, but a discharge is enough to do a lot of damage. So once we go, okay, here, no, not that one. Okay, perfect. So then you'll be Beedrill in the 1-shield. You beat a majority of the meta in the 1-shield. Of course, you're gonna lose against. This is where you lose against Haunter though, just because, like I said, Haunter is able to bait you with Shadow Punch, and it does so much damage with those Shadow Claws that Haunter will just out damage you. Alola Marowak, I don't even mention it. You know, bugs hate fire. You get, if you really want to look at just how much damage you take from Alola Marowak, the reason why is because Galvantula is pretty glassy. As you see, its stats aren't super high. Its attack is high, its stamina is high, but its defense is mad low. So the mad low D, you shall not defend here. One Fire Spin takes out 14%. So literally, you could just get bone clipped to death. It's very sad. There's no scenario where you win unless you're up 2 shields. So steer clear of Alolan Marowak. Also steer clear of Shadow Mawiles and also Alolan Mucks. Now this matchup actually isn't that bad. If you get Alolan Muck, it's actually not that bad. There are still winning scenarios against Alolan Muck. For example, if you are up a shield, you can still beat Alolan Muck. I think you just basically, you can lunge and then discharge here, or you can do the opposite. I would just go straight discharge. Yeah, lunge or discharge, so you can do either one. If you go straight lunge in this scenario, what happens? For example, if you just go straight lunge, the Galvantula will still win. So you could still go straight lunge, and if you go straight lunge against Alolan Marowak, you actually win the one shield. So you can win straight lunge in the one shield. So the Alolan Marowak matchup isn't as bad as it looks. Just do your research, take a look at it, and then you'll see and then you should be fine. Hopefully you're comfortable with what you make. You beat Obstagoon, of course, because Bug beats Dark. Like I mentioned, you beat Shifter, you beat Quillfish, you beat Stuntank. You beat a lot of things. Now, this is a scenario where you're losing against Wormadam Trash because it's just a press. Because you're just gonna, yeah. You just get practically, you got Iron-Headed to death, and it's bulky. So you don't, it's a very weird mod. So yes, you will lose. You will lose just because Galvantula's confusions will chunk at you. Just because, like I mentioned, Galvantula isn't the thickest boy in the land. But that's Galvantula versus Wormadam Trash. Again, you beat it in the 2, so don't worry about that. But as you see, you beat a majority of the meta with the lunge variation. Now, for the closer, if you do happen to have to close with Galvantula, it's also very strong in those matchups too. Now, this is where you'll lose against the Azumarill just because, like I said, it's glassy. So if it eats a move from Azu, you're gonna die. So you never really want Galvantula in a no-shield scenario. You always, if I were you, I'd always try to save, either have energy advantage or try to basically, yeah, have energy lead or have shields. Because if you get an Azu in your closer and you have energy lead, let's take, for example, you had like 3 volts, which is full of energy. So you have like, let's do the options, and then you do your starting energy. Let's just imagine you have a Volt Switch queued, or like you have a discharge queued. You can flip these matchups in the zeros, see? As long as you have one queued, you can still get to a discharge. So if you queue a move, and what I mean by queue is that you store enough energy to fire another like charge move like discharge, you can flip this matchup with Azumarill. So if you have expert energy management, it's important with Galvantula. Because that extra energy, Galvantula, no shields down, will do a lot of damage if you hit it. As you see, Dripping is absolutely annihilated by discharge. You lose against a lot of the meta in the no shield scenario, but you beat Golback, you beat Haunter just because discharge is so strong. You beat Obstagoon. Of course, you're gonna lose against all 3 of these in the zeros, just because, like I said, yeah, you're just gonna die. Just be careful. You beat Obstagoon, you beat Shifter. You lose against Stuntank. You beat Venusaur, Umbreon, Toxic. I think you beat Venusaur just going straight. I think you just go straight lunge. Yeah, you just go straight lunge for Venusaur, and then you'll flip that matchup. So as you see here in the closer, Galvantula needs shields. It needs energy lead. If you don't have that, then it's really dangerous. But other than that, Galvantula makes up for the other 2 positions. Like in the other 2 positions, Galvantula is strong enough to where it doesn't really matter. So in summary, Galvantula is incredibly strong. Galvantula is number 2 for a reason, because lunge is so good, because anything that put something that like is just really powerful, and like a glass cannon like Galvantula, and give it a move that can debuff, and it's gonna still do a ton of damage. Galvantula also works in a ton of cores, so I'm gonna use Galvantula as a lead. I'm going to do an example right here. But like I said, Galvantula is very, very good. Galvantula can mesh well with a ton of other mods. For example, I'm going to use Azu, and we're going to use the Play Rough Ice Beam variant. I like this variation better, because if you can't beat, like, Alolan Marowak already covers Alolan Marowak, so, like, I don't really need it. And there's a chance that there's play. But in summary, Galvantula for the Halloween Cup anyways is incredibly powerful. Now we get a Wigglytuff here. This is kind of bad because Charmer's, like what I mentioned, like this is a good way to show just like how weak Galvantula is as far as like bulk. We're gonna get a discharge off here. I should theoretically just switch to a Alolan Muck, but that's fine. We're going to grab a shield, and now this is going to prompt my opponent to switch out after I switch into them. We get a Quillfish. Okay, so this is not ideal. Quillfish with Water Gun actually is very, very good. And it's going to chunk Water Gun chunks. But Galvantula is Galvantula isn't cheap. 50k dust doesn't seem like a lot of you that either already have one already or that grind decently, but I would be careful about how you want to invest, because a good Galvantula does matter. Like I mentioned before in the beginning, you do want an attack weight Galvantula might be your bread and butter, because if you get the mirror, you need to win CMP to win that matchup. Whoever wins CMP wins that matchup in a nutshell, because all they're gonna do is they're just gonna nerf you. They're just gonna nerf you to death. I'm gonna double shield here. I want to farm down this Quillfish and then save the energy for whatever's in the back. Because if they come in with Wigglytuff, I can get enough to get a Sludge Wave. If they come in whatever's in the back, I have options. Alright, does he switch? No? Okay, perfect. Alright, this Sludge Wave will wreck this Wigglytuff's life, and now this game's basically won. But like I mentioned, because Galvantula with Lunge is very oppressive, you'll break shields, or you'll force your opponent to switch after you switch out on them, like I saw here. We get the Excavalier. And at this point, it's GG's. This is okay. We're vibing. Excavalier does not take out a Zoomerl in the zeros, and even then we still have Galvantula, and we still have Amok with some energy. So all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to Play Rough it to death, because Play Rough you get stabbed. Obviously it resists Ice Beam, but Play Rough we get stabbed. So obviously we're going to use the one where we actually get stabbed. Stab means Azu's a fairy, so Play Rough's fairy, and you know what I mean. But Azu loses to Galvantula. Galvantula is very strong because it's good against it's very oppressive in the meta, and it meshes well with a lot of cores. If there's a team that I would use it with, it would be this one right here. With Amok and with Azu, Galvantula meshes, like I said, it meshes very well, and it does a lot. It does a lot of work. As you see, we handily won. We swept our opponent. We didn't lose a single mon. That's how good Galvantula is. And even though if you look at this, wow. We blocked a lot of damage, and we actually, Galvantula literally just lunged, and it forces a shield from a Wigglytuff. Even though, if you keep Galvantula in, it's going to get charmed down against a Wigglytuff. But that's just a good display of just how Galvantula and Lunge is so oppressive. Because like I said, you put a Glass Cannon, you give it a debuff move, it's really, really good. Galvantula does well against a core, and it's best used, in my opinion, as a lead or a switch. I would use it as a lead, just me personally, just because I think Alolan Muck is still the best safe switch around, just because it's so oppressive. You beat Azu, you'll bait the shields for Azu, and you can set up Galvantula for the finish in the closer. Because like I said, you want Galvantula with either energy advantage and or shields. Anyways, that's my video. I hope you guys have a lot of fun. I hope you guys already have a Galvantula ready. If you do, that's awesome. If you don't have one, you can hatch it. But remember, you have to check out Bench or Rare Canyon to it. Or you can ask your friends to trade you one. Either or. You guys have a great day. I will see you on my next analysis.